Ruben, Ravi walks in the morning and he's like, "Hi, Subhashni," and then he looks at you and he's like, "Good morning, Ruben, sir." Like, what is this? Do they view managers and leaders differently?
Are you jealous?
Yeah, no, I get. Like, what is this?
Let's discuss then. Tell me, what do you want to know?
What is the difference between a manager and a leader? Like, really, what's the difference?
Basically, when an employee goes through the entire journey of experiences and complexities, they assimilate a lot of learnings, knowledge as they grow up the ladder. And in this process, what also gets mixed up is their own cultural biases, their academic influences. So, all this is taken into account while carving out a person into a manager. And then they progress into the path of a leader. Sometimes they are pushed into the role, sometimes
Yes.
they themselves graduate into the role.
Yes.
Am I making sense?
Yes, that's so true. Absolutely. So exactly what is the difference between a leader and a manager? Are not all managers leaders?
No. Yes and no. Well, in the sense that when you look at a manager, what is the job of a manager? The role of a manager is to maintain stability, is to
Right.
manage the status quo, is to do the right things. So, one of the things that a manager does based on their own learnings, their own biases, their own motivations is to manage things the way they should be managed as per policy, as per their experiences.
Right.
Whereas the role of a leader is actually to disrupt using innovation.
Yes.
So they need to carve out new paths, find out new ways, new solutions to ensure top of the cap performances, high team motivation, uh, carrying people along, and finally scaling people to their goals and their aspirations to become a future leader. What do you think? So, what would you think are the typical traits of a leader?
The typical things which I see when I look at a leader is that one is clarity. They have immense ability and purpose of to be clear about what they need get done in the short term, middle term, and long term.
Absolutely right.
The second thing I find them is their ability to say no. If something does not fit the bill, that's a no. And the third thing I find is that you cannot push them to a decision. If they are not in the frame to discuss it, they will not. And this is what I see common with them.
Exactly. So this is what even the authentic leadership trait talks about. It talks about morality, which means the uh, the high morale to say what is right, right, and to not take a decision just because the decision needs to be taken. The second factor is balance. So, not only thrusting one's own likes, desires, ideas, but taking the entire team along with them. And the
Right.
third part is transparency, which means when they take a decision, they ensure that the team has a buy in the decision or they understand the process behind the decision, right? So, that basically makes the difference between a manager versus a leader.
I find that especially in manufacturing firms or companies with a very strong culture, when external people join in at leadership positions, the reasons of their failure are not often performance in the monetary sense or in the operational sense. What really seems to not work for them is the compatibility with an organization's culture or their viewpoint. So, how do I decide as a HR or a hiring manager who is the right fit for my company and for which roles? Be it internal employees in senior management who should be put into leadership positions, or be it hiring from outside.
to listen to great leaders and people who have achieved and been there, done that, is they talk about the first principle of hiring the right people. So if you have hired the right people, and how you hire the right people is assessing them before you have hired them, to look at their ability to scale. Like one of the things that we do in our competency assessments is to not only look for the competency for today, but also to look for it for tomorrow.
Yes.
So similarly, what happens is a person is a manager first and a leader later.
Right.
And this fine distinction of understanding that a manager has certain elements of functional desires or interests which would influence the way they decide and they take decisions.
Yes.
The fact that they also have separate motivational cues, the fact that they could have a bent towards either being more people oriented or task oriented, are great ways to highlight and find out who really fits the bill.
Correct. Who fits the bill for which role, I guess.
Exactly.
So the person who might make a great sales head may not make a very good operations head. So yes, I think what you're saying is really valid. So tell me something more about leadership.
Okay. So basically, if you look at an employee's journey from a junior executive, a person progresses to becoming a manager and then to a leader and finally to a people scaler. Now, why do I use the term people scaler? It's probably being used first time by someone in the industry. And why I say a leader should finally evolve into becoming a people scaler, because the role of a leader today is less about doing things himself, but pushing others to achieve more. And that's where you help people scale walls, scale boundaries, scale complexities. And which is why
that's a really nice way to explain
exactly.
it. Yes.
So when you can help other people scale the complexities they are facing in their journey, you are helping the organization in itself to grow, because an organization need to groom people. So how do you groom people? The first thing you do is to find out, using assessment tools like the ones we have, to find out where exactly do they fit in terms of the levels of leadership. Secondly, what are the underlying gaps which could be fulfilled using learning and development. And the third is, of course, then taking them or gearing them up to ensuring that not only they are growing, but the entire team is growing and they are helping out. Yes. But a leader needs to have empathy towards scaling other people.
Yes. And understanding their journey.
Absolutely. Or helping them in their growing in their journey. So if you want to find out about which are the people who fit the bill of a leader in your organization, if you want to understand the various components, starting from what are the elements of managerial competence to leadership competency levels in your employees, or even if you want to do it for your own self, to know where you stand today. Today we are coming up with a retail version of our products.
Yes.
So I'm sure there, even individuals who aspire to be future leaders can know what are the underlying gaps, what are their areas of strengths, and improve themselves into becoming the leaders of tomorrow. If you find this conversation interesting, comment below, let us know, and we look forward to the next conversation.
Absolutely. Goodbye.